Hi, I'm Arthur, and this is part 19 in a 20-part series I'm doing involving all the initial 20 legions of Space Marines. Do you need to have seen the other parts to understand this one? No, it's a standalone video, but I would appreciate it. So, who are the 19th Legion, the Raven Guard? And if I'm being completely honest with you all, I have no idea where to put them on the rankings list of how much I like them. I don't want to say they're mid, like I did with the Blood Angels, and I don't really like them enough to say they're in my higher ranks, but I also don't dislike them. I don't hate them. I don't find any kind of malice towards them. I have so many issues with them as a faction that it's just, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Which I'm realizing I do almost every video when it comes to these things. So let's just dive into the lore and dissect it at the end, like I do every time. It's almost like I have an established format at this point. The Raven Guard, prior to the discovery of their Primarch, were known for being a smidge... eager, to put it lightly. If I were to not put it lightly, I'd say that, for the most part, they were often described as overzealous psychopaths that had a craving for murder. But, you know, it's all about perspectives. The Primarch was sent to a planet known as Deliverance, or Lycaeus, depending on what time frame you're looking at it. It was a small mining colony-based moon that was taken under the thrall of the tech guilds from the planet below it. Think of it as the chaotic evil mechanicum before the chaotic evil mechanicum actually was a thing. Deliverance was a moon filled with many different slaves forced to work in the mines to survive. Corvus Corax, the Primarch of the Raven Guard if you didn't catch on, sent to this shithole, was discovered by a man who had a distinct feeling that a magic alien super baby that grew to about 9 feet tall over the course of a few years might be a good tool to overthrow that whole slavery business. So, he kept his adopted son's existence a secret. Much like he would have wanted, Corax grew up in the mines, and being 9 feet tall in a tunnel system didn't really give him a good attitude towards being forced to live under there. So he waged a war on the ruling class of techno-slavers, as one does, as is common with these stories involving the Primarchs and their rapid takeover of their home planet, unless your name is Angry Ron. One thing led to another. Corvus dismantled the slavers' hold on the moon. He lived on, and they renamed it to Deliverance from Lycaeus. Everything was peaceful, everyone was happy, civil war killed every last slaver on the planet, and Corvus was heralded as a hero. Cut to some time in the future, his father, the Emperor of Mankind, showed up, told him he was his father, which, I mean, considering the height similarity, was not really hard to believe. Corvus was taken back to Holy Terra and given control over his legion of the Raven Guard. He was kind of at odds at how aggressive in 0 to 100 they were, because it half reminded him of the slavers he grew up with. So he was pretty quick to beat that shit out of them, while also supplementing the Terran-born Marines with new stock from his home world of Deliverance. The newly founded Marines of the Raven Guard were all just kinda okay with doing their own thing. They worked with other individuals well enough, but it did end up with a bit of a silly oopsie one day. Corvus, working with that lovable, huggable man who could totally do nothing wrong, Horus, was asked to conduct a frontline assault. His Marines, being adept more at sabotage, stealth missions, and assassinations, said that that was kind of a fucking stupid idea, to which every other Primarch in the room essentially got quiet for a few seconds, pointed at him, and just said, "Pussy." One thing led to another, and boom, he had barely any Marines left after this encounter because he did engage in the frontline assault. It ended with him having a rather well-informed judgment that Horus was kind of a fucking maniac under the skin who had bad judgment skills. Oh gee, I wonder if he ended up being fucking right. On a side note that is kind of funny, because he was forced into a full frontal engagement, the rather aggro carry-ons from the initial days of the Raven Guard ended up dying off for the most part, which ended up being a great boon to the whole Legion, because that was the section of the Legion that was kind of in the pocket of Erebus to a small degree because of the warrior lodges that were existing at the time. But because all of them ended up dying, and there was like 3 of them left after that assault. There weren't really many dissenters to side with Horus when the whole drop site massacre happened. Also, obligatory fuck Erebus. The Horus Heresy happened. Corvus lost a fuckload of Marines, still had Nicona Sherokin, who is really cool, which leads into my main thesis point, where whenever I discuss these Marines, I get so fuck you frustrated, it actually gives me a migraine. I think the black power armor with the white detailing is cool. Who would have thunk it? The more you look into these Marines, the more you get frustrated. It's a slow descent. It starts the second they take their fucking helmets off. Look at this. That man looks like Emo Peter from Spider-Man 3. There's a meme in my Discord where they just show the stat line of Kayvon Strike for 10th edition. Well, I Am All of Me by Crush 40 starts playing because he's so fucking edgy looking. Every single Raven Guard member has a luxurious feathered, treated mane of hair that makes no sense. They have to have an entire team of serfs and servitors to quaff that shit, or else it makes no sense even more so. Here's the kicker, they all still have the facial proportions of a goddamn space marine, meaning blocky, jarhead, thick jawline, all look like they subsist on a diet of nothing but steak and anabolic growth hormone, but yet, for some fucking reason, the Raven Guard specifically look like they are also blasting mid-2000s My Chemical Romance, mindless self-indulgence, Pierce the Veil, all-time low, Black Veil Brides, The Used, Paramore, Bowling for Soup, Arctic Monkeys, Sleeping with Sirens, Alexis on Fire, All-American Rejects, Billy Talent, and Panic at the fucking Disco in their goddamn helmets when fighting orcs. You think I'm exaggerating? Dude, look at the names on their psychic spells in 9th edition. Let's just roll a dice here. The Darkness Within. Christ. Sounds like a Midwest emo album title. I just wish they could dispense with the weird gothic we thought it was cool in the 2000s, so it's gotta still be cool right now shtick they got kinda going on. I mean, it did kind of get changed up towards the end of the Horus Heresy. Corvus, having a bit of a grudge against that rather charming lore guard, decided to just fight him forever. He shed his humanity, quite literally became a non-chaos aligned warp entity that may or may not just be a demon prince of some kind to no chaos. Okay, it's complicated. Which is described as a big bird monster or something akin to an eldritch monstrosity mixed with a biblically accurate angel. Which is a cool aesthetic to go to, but they just kind of don't do that with anyone else. Before you ask about the mutant raptors, shut up. They don't exist. They won't ever exist again. I think the Legion is exactly what it should be. A facet of a time gone by, like most 40k armies. But it's definitely not aging as well, and is likely contributing to why a lot of people do head conversions for Kayvon Strike to be wearing his helmet. They have a very emo and 2000s goth aesthetic, which does clash with the other Space Marines, because where a lot of them is kind of this neo-retro futurism, where big bulky weapons, angry faceplates, and big armor, these are more like Shadow the Hedgehog. But, do you like stealth? Do you like murdering people from afar with well-placed sniper scouts? Do you like birds? Do you enjoy the Black Parade a bit too much? Then perhaps you should look into the Raven Guard. They are pretty interesting, if not a bit cringe. I personally enjoy the Raptors successor chapter of the Raven Guard more myself. I just like the military green color and the ultra pragmatism of their approach to war. Though there are a lot of good successor chapters to the Raven Guard as a whole anyhow, but what do you all think? As I usually say, I am going to be looking into the comments, especially for these dweebs, because I want to know who plays them, and why. Alongside that, remember to like and subscribe, as it does help with the channel. Lastly, I'd like to give a special thanks to my channel members for supporting me. With your help, I am able to provide for myself a little bit more than I would without. I don't need to go back to indentured servitude in the mines. Before I go, I just want to say I have the utmost respect for a faction that has a dedicated and sizable percentage of their gray matter dedicated to hating the word bearers. So I suppose on that level we can all relate to them, because, fuck Erebus.